የተከበራችሁ የሰላም ካቶሊክ ቲቪ ተመልካቾች በዛሬው የቤተክርስቲያን በተልዕኮ ላይ በተሰኘው ፕሮግራማችን እንግዳ ይዘን ቀርበናል። አባ ኤምሪክ ራሳቸውን ያስተዋውቃሉ። በአፍሪካ ዩኒየን ቻፕለንሲ አማካይነት የተዘጋጀው የአንድ ኮንፈረንስ ጉዳይ ይዘን እዚህ ውይይት እናደርጋለን። የበለጠ በአፍሪካ ፍትህ እንዲሰፍን እና ከታሪካችንም ጋር ታርቀን ወደፊት መሄድ እንድንችል በዚህ ርዕስ ዙሪያ ላይ ውይይት እናደርጋለን።
Thank you very much, Father, for having me at Pax Catholic TV or Selam Catholic TV. I am Father Emerick. I am a citizen of Seychelles and Congo-Brazzaville, dual citizen, and I'm a spirit and priest, a member of the Congregation of the Holy Spirit. SECAM wanted to engage itself more closely with the African Union Commission, because being the most important church numerically in the continent and giving also our representation on the ground, it was thought that it is better, in order to promote peace, reconciliation, justice in the continent, to work closely with the African Union. So since 2015, SECAM has had a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the AU through the Department of Political Affairs, Peace and Security. And this year is going to be renewed so that common project or common initiatives can be achieved for peace.
Thank you. Well explained, and of course it will continue, as you said, through the different ways, and especially also making aware the societies through the different religious institutions, but also moral institutions, ethical organizations. All stakeholders will benefit from this documentation or this conference or the proceedings which is being prepared. And also when we focus on the teaching of the Catholic Church and when it comes to justice, the Church has been working for a long time, since the time of Pope Leo XIII. The social teaching of the Church is functioning in the Church in a very formal and well-structured way, and this is related very much also with what the Church is doing daily in different contexts. Now we are talking about Africa and also historical wounds. How can we remember it, but remembering not just only to dwell in it, but also just to heal and to open a new chapter for the future, and to reconcile with our history, with our past, individually as a country, different countries, as a society, but also as a family, maybe also as a group, as a church. So there are different structures within this topic when we talk about reparative justice. So the challenge or the opportunity now we have in front of us is to take these proceedings, to our individual institutions, to the different religious organizations and ethical organizations who are present. And do you think that within the Catholic Church now, with SECAM, through SECAM, but through other organizations, to disseminate and to bring this call for reparative justice, that it will be implemented? What is your hope that through the structures of the church, if these documents will be disseminated? Because SECAM is actually a structure where all the bishops or bishops' conferences of Africa come together.
That's a very, very complex topic. But what I see is that the Catholic social teaching is one of the best contributions we can offer to the African Union. It is sad that, for the time being, we have not yet reached that level because it involves some money. Because if we want to organize a retreat in the general sense of the word, not just a spiritual retreat, we can invite AU officials in a hotel or a particular place, and we bring some experts who are going to introduce them to the social teaching of the church, the different perspectives. So I remember last time discussing with a delegation from Germany, and then people saying, okay, that's a very good idea, but it involves taking the high officials, those who are Catholics and those who are open to the Catholic social teaching, to know better about it. Because what we find in the social teaching of the church, it is the primacy of the human person over systems. It is the infinite dignity of the human person as imago Dei, created in the image of God, B'Tselem Elohim. So these principles we have in Catholic social teachings, if people understand them, accept them, and apply them, is going to solve a lot of problems. Because why, first of all, do we have people who were enslaved? It's because there are some people who thought that there are more humans than them. So these are commodities. So that's why we can exploit them, we can sell them into slavery. They are subhumans. But if we understand very well that what makes a person to enjoy infinite dignity is the fact that we are created in the image of God, things like racism, people will not be talking about them again, especially among believers. Things like tribalism, ethnocentrism. You cannot be a believer in God and be ethnocentric, be a tribalist, and then be racist. Doesn't make sense. So that is why we need more than ever the social teaching of the church. Now, the thing is this. We have to do examination of conscience, even ourselves, in the church. There are many things, we have very good principles, but we don't do the Duke in Altum to go into the deep. Because who is going to implement what we are talking about? At the grassroots level, it is a particular diocese or a particular episcopal conference, especially places where slaves were taken from. So people have to reconcile the histories. And then there are things that, for instance, I saw when I went to Angola. Those slaves, before they entered the boat or the shipments to go to the Americas, they were baptized. And they were given Christian names. So these are the things we need to address for people to know that, look, before taking people in a boat, they baptize them so that they become Christians. But immediately after, they give them alcohol, very strong alcohol, so that as they become weaker physically, they can push them and then do whatever they like. Because somebody who is very strong, if you are pushing him in the boat, he can feel like, no, I'm not going. He can fight. But if you give him strong gin, strong alcohol, you weaken him, and then you do whatever you think. If you go to Cape Coast or Elmina Castle in Ghana, you are going to find that some of these places where the slaves were being taken for no return, they were having chapels. So there are other things like that We need to know, but we know them in order to avoid repeating the mistakes today. So in the seminaries, our seminarians cannot finish a whole seminary curriculum without knowing what happened in slavery. So today you can go for a seminary from year 1 in philosophy and the last year in theology, you know very little about slavery, very little about colonization, very little about Pan-Africanism, about genocide, about apartheid. So it means that we have to do something. Because it is, yes, it's good we have conferences, but what are we doing? What is SECAM doing in order to promote a Pan-Africanism from a church perspective, whereby we are going to say, well, let's try to unite and then try to address some issues. People are talking about uniting Africans, let's say, through languages like Kiswahili. In how many African seminaries people are learning Kiswahili? So that at least they will have a language of communication that will make them proud Africans. So you see, that is a problem we have, that we try our level best to stimulate reflection, but it is only the pastors, the bishops, who they themselves also, they have to say, no. We have to be at the forefront, even act proactively, so that the government and the African Union, they will learn from us. I'm not saying that we are not doing good things, but I'm afraid that we are still doing things just in order to supplement what the government is not doing in terms of education. But for the rest, the education we are providing to people is not a truly Pan-African education. So these are the opportunities for people to make people aware of the evil of slavery, and even to address the fact that there were some traditional rulers who, for a bottle of gin or a bag of rice or salt, sold to people. And some of the problems we are having today in Africa, they originate back to those periods. So it is not about telling, okay, the French did bad, the Dutch did bad, the British or the Portuguese and the Spanish. But in the end, it is about reconciling with our own past and ourselves, and then saying, yes, we too, there are things we did that were bad, so it requires reparative justice, it requires reconciliation. Because when we study the history of slavery, Africans, we cannot say that we were blameless, because many of our traditional rulers, especially in the coastal areas, they were deeply involved in selling other slaves. So selling people as commodities. So we also have to address that one. Because if we don't talk about these things, what we are doing is just a waste of time, because true reconciliation cannot emerge. That is why you still find people who have animosity, ethnic animosity, because they say, oh, these people, they came, they enslaved us. And then they consider themselves superior human beings. It's not supposed to be the ideology of Christians.
That is our hope, that through this remembering what has happened in the past, or what had happened in the remote past, we can say that people will get more awareness, and then will not commit again this kind of crime against humanity and wrongdoing. But when we discuss this, this is one chapter which we have discussed during the conference. But when we see also currently, we see a lot of also modern slavery, in the sense that even now, due to lack of awareness about the social teaching of the church, or not due to lack of commitment to the gospel, lack of commitment to the teaching of the church. There are many people who are suffering even as we speak in different countries. Africans are now also trafficked to different countries, to the Middle East, for example, even now, to different places in the globe. Not only Africans, but in general, in different countries, modern slavery is taking place. This is an important topic also which needs to be addressed. And is there a plan in the near future also to continue? As we speak now, the Church is celebrating the Jubilee year, a year of mercy, and the Catholic Church is celebrating that, and we are praying for forgiveness, for reconciliation, and yeah, it's an important moment as we journey, as pilgrims of hope, as we journey together as Christians, as Catholics. These are an important topics to address. Even as we speak, there are many wrongdoings happening to humanity. And this year we are praying for wisdom for those who are involved in these wrongdoings. Even Christians, even within the church structure, there are things which needs to be addressed. And what is your take on this?
Very good question. When we talk of memory, memory has three dimensions: the past, the present, in view of the future. So the Jewish concept of hazikaron is not focused only on the past, but it is in view of the present and the present in the future. So you are absolutely right. What we are discussing is also what should help us address the situation of modern day slavery. As we are speaking right now, there are our African brothers from sub-Saharan Africa who are being sold in Libya, the market. Sold. And recently I was listening to the news that they found mass graves where some of the people who were exploited and were buried. People are being sold on the market. And it is documented. But at the level of our continent, our leaders, when they come to the AU, they don't go about telling these people, hey, how come in our continent we still have people who are being sold into slavery in the market? So this is a reality. And this is happening in all parts of Africa. There are places where xenophobia makes it that just because you look this way, we're not going to welcome you. You can even die. It can be your death sentence. So that is why, for me, all these themes, they are also a way of telling us there is homework you have to do. Jesus said, why are you looking at the splinter in the eyes of your brother, and then what about the plank in your own eye? So this can also be applied to the context of justice for Africans and people of African descent to reparations. The problem we have at the level of the Catholic Church, for me in Africa, that's engaged only for the Emmerich, is the fact that we have not yet set up mechanism that will help us to better make known what is happening in some places. You know, sometimes it's only international NGOs that come and tell us, oh, something is happening here. They do a documentary and it's finished. But if we're having, like in each country, justice and peace commissions, having documented every traces of something that has to do with modern slavery, And then we write a regular report, and we have a mechanism, like kind of observatory, which comes from the parish, the diocesan level, to the level of the Episcopal Conference, the regional Episcopal conferences, and then the level of SECAM, and then which we can share with the Holy See and other partners. It will have saved a lot of lives. But most of the things we are talking about, some people are totally unaware of that. And yet, we have people who are everywhere. So that's what I'm saying, that the strength of the Catholic Church is that there is no church in Africa which is as well represented, as well established on the ground like us. So we should have used it as a strength to educate our people. Because in some dioceses, like in Senegal or Guinea, people know where the people who are migrating, who are risking their lives, are going to through the Mediterranean, where they are coming from. But what are we doing at the level of the parish to listen to the parents who are contributing money to send their children who are going to be trafficked? So I know that Talitha Kum is a movement which has been doing a lot of things. But see, Talitha Kum is doing wonderful things at the level of the Catholic Church. But what is the collaboration between Talitha Kum and the African Union, for instance? The African Union has got mechanism for addressing modern-day slavery and trafficking in persons. But what is the relationship between Talitha Kum at the level of the Catholic Church and the African Union to unite efforts so that we say never again? So the most important thing I think right now is implementation. But implementation requires also people with new ideas. You know, sometimes the way we work in the church, Abba, Petros, I'm not teaching you something new. It's not the fifth gospel that I'm preaching. So you can have some initiatives, you can have some visions, but you see it very clearly. But you have to report or to talk to somebody who has other priorities, so that your boss, I'm not talking of the Cardinal Berani Jesus, but it's just a matter, but I was talking about. So he's more interested in maybe getting some money to feed his priests and then to build parishes. You are concerned with things about modern-day slavery and trafficking in persons. So when you try to raise awareness and to get support for some of these people, they feel like, this one is not urgent for us. So leave it to the NGOs and whatever. Ourselves, we are busy writing projects so that Misereor or Mission will help us to survive. So that is why, for me, if we want to be efficient, whether it be at the level of the African Union, we need to bring people on board who come with new ideas and new approaches, and also with a lot of flexibility. So if I'm seeing issues and I'm presenting them to you, and then you go and sit in a certain board, and then you feel like, well, no, this is too risky, let's not talk about it, nothing is going to be done. So we need, I think, a kind of metanoia, total transformation of the way we think in order to make things happen. You know, there are some priests and bishops and pastors who don't believe that we should promote justice in the continent and peace by teaming up with the African Union. They say, these are politicians, these are diplomats, these are secular agenda, so we have to just be doing prayers. But those people exist. But I think it is a wake-up call for all of us that we need people with new ideas, like Pope Francis encourages us to do. It's better we make mistakes in the process than sitting in our office with air conditions and then allowing things to happen the way to continue the way they are.
Yeah, just briefly, we are going to conclude. But one of the things which the church is also promoting is when we talk about reconciliation, is then encourage also to engage in forgiveness. That the church herself, came up with the Pope John Paul II, the saint, but also other pontiffs. They asked publicly forgiveness, for the wrongdoings of not particularly the church, but the children of the church, those who were in the church structure, individually, as Christians, as Catholics. So that is a good tradition in the Catholic Church. It's a part of the social teaching of the Church also, that we have to adapt individually also as a Christian, but also as an institution. During this course of the conference, there were questions were raised if other institutions are also involved, or in this kind of forgiveness, or if they are also reflecting on it. And I remember one question also after the talk was given by one scholar, but also in the panel, the Cardinal raised a few questions for reflection. Where are, the slave brothers and sisters who were taken to the Middle East through East Africa? We are talking about, the different routes like transatlantic to the US or to the Latin America from western part of Africa, but from the east. And then where are these who were taken from the eastern part of Africa to the Middle East, to Arab countries, and where are their descendants? This is a question to make some kind of research in the future. Also, their voice, or what happened, to remember, at least to recognize it. So this is also a topic which requires also research. In this regard, also many work needs to be done, much work to be done by the researchers maybe. There was also another issue which was raised, that we are asking for forgiveness or compensation, but what was the question raised by one priest? As far as I remember, one of the participants, a priest, raised also the issue of this cancellation of debts. So that is something which the church, the head of states borrowed money, and then it was disappeared somewhere there, and then now we are asking it back or to be cancelled. But mostly the first question, the research needs to be done by scholars about what happened also during the time of slavery. And do you think that research can be initiated, to come up with some concrete results?
Books have been written, and that is why I believe that what UNESCO is doing with the project they have, in French they call it La Route de l'Esclave, and the Slave Road, is good to team up with UNESCO, because UNESCO already has something like that. So I think the problem is this. Let me talk from the point of view of the Catholic Church. If in our institutions of high learning we don't emphasize these aspects, if we don't have even a museum or a library a dedicated unit on the topic, no one is going to do it for us. So we have to do our homework. For instance, here we have a very wonderful memorial place of the Adwa. So it keeps the memory of the battle of Ethiopia against the colonizers. So it inspires people. But a lot of resources were spent to have such a memorial place where people can educate themselves, know better about what happened at the end of the 19th century with the Battle of Adwa. Now, imagine that in some other places in Africa, maybe not the government, but at least the church, you have a Catholic cultural center where people can come and know more about the cultural continuity between people on the continent and people, let's say, in the Caribbean. If you have a country like Benin Republic and Togo, and you go to Haiti, you basically find the same people there. And even if you continue to Martinique, I was in Martinique, the way some of the food is still being cooked in Martinique is the same way as in the west coast of Africa, some part of west coast of Africa. So who is going to do the job? It's supposed to come from, let's say, a Catholic diocese, which is say, okay, we are going to have a Catholic cultural center whereby we are going to know more about our culture, but also the similarities we have with our brothers from the diaspora, things like that. So we are the ones at the level of the church to initiate things whereby memory is preserved. And then we invite scholars to come and address people about these issues. I read a book many years ago, I have it, Le Génocide Voilé, a veiled or the hidden genocide, but which is addressing the issue of Africans who were taken away from the continent had to go to the Arab world. But these are the people, the authors and people who have expertise. They can only come and talk to places where they have initiatives like that. So that's what I'm talking about. We have to be culturally creative. We don't have to wait for governments. And on the issue of reparation, sometimes when for the wrongs that were done, you know, if a particular country, let's say France, wants to do some reparations, giving the money to some governments we have, then it's going to repair the pockets of those politicians. It's not going to, the reparation will be for the pockets and the houses and the plot of lands of the politicians. But true reparations is when we feel like these communities have been neglected, or they have been displaced, or they find themselves in historical discrimination. Maybe these people, they need a school. They need a school, or they need a clinic, they need a hospital. So what we are asking for people is that we've got a project whereby we are doing something that can help these people to sustain themselves. That is true reparations. Like somebody pointed out during the conference, that we are doing agriculture, we are trying to make people to be self-reliant, so we are just waiting for partners to come and help us. That is, for me, true reparations. Of course, you have to acknowledge the wrong done.
Recognition.
Recognition, of course, yes.
Yeah, and also a project or an activity the wider society can benefit from.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Father, for your time and also the insight you gave us about this important topic. And I hope also to have another interview in the near future on another issue. And we wish you also all the best during this Lenten season. We express also our hope that this Lenten season will be a blessed one for all of us, and then also a blessed year of mercy, or the Jubilee year, which the Church is celebrating this year. And I thank you for your generosity coming here to share all these ideas with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, and we continue to pray for the full recovery of Pope Francis in this year of Jubilee. Thank you very much. አመሰግናለሁ።
የተወደዳችሁ የሰላም ካቶሊክ ቲቪ ተመልካቾች ከክቡር አባ ኤምሪክ ጋር የነበረን ቆይታ በዚህ ተጠናቋል እና እግዚአብሔር አምላክ ለሀገራችን ለዓለማችን እንደዚሁም በተለይ ለአፍሪካ ፍትህን ሰላምን እንዲያወርድ በጸሎታችን አብረን እንቆያለን። ለሁላችንም የተባረከ የተቀደሰ የዚህ 40 ጾም ወይም የአብይ ጾም ጊዜ ያድርግልን። መልካም ቆይታ። የእግዚአብሔር ስም የተመሰገነ ይሁን።